job, Tyson.
Tulsa King fans, buckle up because Episode 6 just made one thing brutally clear. This war is no longer about business. It's personal, it's messy, and somebody we care about isn't making it out of this season alive. Sheridan finally ripped the safety net out from under Dwight, and now the man who once walked into Tulsa untouchable is suddenly surrounded, bleeding allies, losing leverage, and fighting ghosts from every direction. And don't kid yourself, this wasn't just another episode, this was the turn. The moment the show said no happy endings. Not this time. Dunmire is tightening the noose, Muso is circling like a vulture, the feds smell blood, and Dwight's own family is back in the blast zone again. And the worst part? It's working. They're dragging him into emotional quicksand, isolating him, pushing him toward reckless choices until the only path left is violence. So grab a drink, because tonight we're breaking down the episode that flipped Season 3, from chaos to inevitable tragedy. And if you thought Tulsa King was going to coast to a clean finale, yeah, think again.
If you think we lost, then that means you think he won. That's never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
Dwight's close call. How many lives does he have left? Dwight Manfredi has now cheated death so many times that even a house cat would be offended. At this point, the Grim Reaper must have Dwight on an email list. Just checking in, bud? You free this week? Season 3 has turned every episode into a roulette spin, and Episode 5 proved it again. Bullets flying, enemies stacking up, and Dwight walking away like the universe simply refuses to cash him in. But these close calls aren't heroic anymore, they're warnings. Not to Dwight, to us. Taylor Sheridan doesn't drop near-death scenes for flair. He drops them like breadcrumbs, leading straight to a finale body bag. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The closer Dwight gets to winning, the faster the writers tighten the noose. Look at the pattern. Every alliance is shaky. Every friend is a maybe traitor. And every rival is doubling down on making Dwight a memory instead of a problem. You can feel it in the pacing. The story isn't asking if someone is going to die, it's asking who goes first. Dwight might be the Teflon Don of Tulsa, but even Teflon melts under enough heat, and Episode 6 is setting the burner to high. Eventually, one of these shootouts, ambushes, or double crosses isn't going to end with Dwight dusting off his boots and delivering a one-liner. And that's why this close call hits different. It's no longer suspense, it's foreshadowing. Sheridan is circling a finale moment that'll either break the audience or break Dwight for good. Does he run out of luck? Out of allies? Out of purpose? When a character survives this many death traps, the writers are either preparing him for a crown or prepping him for a coffin. Right now, Dwight's story is perched on that razor-thin line, and Episode 6 might be the moment the balance finally snaps.
He was going to shut us down for sure.
Temporarily.
We can't get rid of him. He's a state official, and they'll be searching everywhere for him, and we will be the suspect. Anybody see him come in?
Nobody.
Absolutely sure?
Yes.
Let's call it a workplace accident.
Right.
Episode 6. Set up the calm before a bloody endgame. Episode 6 is serving up that classic Taylor Sheridan fake peace. The kind where everyone takes a breath, not because the danger is gone, but because the writers are loading the gun. The streets are quiet, the conversations are cautious, and every character suddenly has final episode energy. You know the vibe, those calm, reflective scenes that only exist so Sheridan can emotionally sucker punch us later. This is not calm. This is the pressure drop before a tornado turns the whole season into flying debris and dead ambition. The enemies are circling, alliances are cracking, and Episode 6 is clearly positioning each character like chess pieces being slid into their death squares. Dwight's crew thinks they're stabilizing the situation, but we know better. Any moment of order in a Sheridan series is just controlled chaos on a timer. Snitches are about to get stitches, lieutenants are about to flip, and someone we actually like is going to end up on a floor, in a trunk, or zipped into a bag by the finale. Episode 6 isn't hiding the danger, it's holding it hostage. And here's the real kicker. When a show slows down this close to a finale, it's never mercy. It's the writers sharpening the knife. Episode 6 is the inhale before the scream, the fuse before the boom, and the smirk on a villain's face right before all hell breaks loose. If this is the calm, then the end game is going to be a blood-stained demolition. And every character left standing will wish they hadn't answered the phone, opened the door, or trusted a single soul in Tulsa.
That I created with this girl's papa.
You're fired!
Like hell I am! So why don't you write about the truth? Tonight should be my night.
The villain's master plan, Dunmire's final strike. Dunmire isn't playing checkers, he's at the poker table holding a bloody royal flush, and Episode 6 is where he finally stops bluffing. Up to now, he's been tugging strings from the shadows, letting other men spill the blood while he signs the orders. But the way the story's tightening, it's clear he's stepping out of the smoke and into the spotlight. This isn't about sending a message anymore. This is about finishing the job. Dunmire wants Dwight erased, his empire gutted, and every loose end sewn shut with barbed wire. The brilliance and horror of Dunmire's plan is that he isn't going for Dwight's head first. Oh no, he's going for the oxygen around him, the allies, the business pipeline, the family, the reputation. Villains who kill you are dangerous, but villains who collapse your world piece by piece are catastrophic. That's Dunmire's strategy. Squeeze Dwight's life until he either snaps or goes feral and self-destructs. And the worst part? It's working. Dwight is emotional, reactive, and bleeding trust faster than he's gaining ground. So Episode 6 is the moment Dunmire flips the switch. No more subtle sabotage, no more small attacks. We're entering total war mode, a public strike, a personal strike, maybe even a loss that pushes Dwight into the kind of rage you don't walk back from. The villain's master plan is simple and devastating. Strip Tulsa king of his kingdom, kill what he loves, and watch him burn everything else down with his own hands. If Dwight survives the finale, he won't be the same man, and Dunmire knows it. That's the real strike.
Done.
Is Season 3 building toward a major character death? At this point, it feels like Tulsa King is practically begging us to expect a funeral. Season 3 has been stacking betrayals, shootings, ambushes, and revenge plots like a Jenga tower that's one bad move from collapsing in spectacular fashion. Episode 6 doesn't just raise the tension, it weaponizes it, hinting that somebody close to Dwight is about to pay the price for his comeback crusade. Sheridan doesn't build this level of pressure without planning to detonate something or someone to make the final stretch hurt. And let's be real, the show isn't going to kill Dwight, and it's not killing Chicky in the middle of the season. The emotional impact has to come from someone tied directly to Dwight's world, someone whose death would break him, motivate him, or send him into full nuclear retaliation mode. That puts names like Tyson, Bodie, Grace, Roxy, or even Tina's orbit squarely in the danger zone. Each of them represents a different piece of Dwight's future: loyalty, business, morality, or family, and taking one away would reshape the story instantly. That's why Episode 6 feels like a throat clearing before the scream. The stakes are too high, the enemies are too bold, and Dwight's circle is too exposed for everyone to reach the finale breathing. This show loves consequences, and Season 3 has been spelling out one message in every bullet and betrayal. This war needs a casualty. The only mystery left is which character becomes the emotional sacrifice that launches the endgame into chaos.
Everyone should go home, get some sleep, because we're coming back stronger than before. Believe that, okay? Great job, guys. See you later.
The war for Tulsa. Who controls the city by the finale? Tulsa isn't a city anymore, it's a chessboard with body armor and bourbon. By the time Episode 6 hits, every faction thinks they own the streets. Dwight is trying to build a business empire, Muso is playing political gangster, Dunmire is unleashing military-style retaliation, and the feds are hovering like vultures waiting to claim whatever's left. The city is up for grabs, and the finale is shaping up to answer one brutal question. Who gets to sit on the throne when the smoke clears, and who gets dumped in the Arkansas River? Dwight wants legitimacy, Muso wants control, Dunmire wants dominance. But none of them can have all three, and that's why somebody is going to lose big. Dwight's crew is loyal but small. Muso has leverage but not muscle. Dunmire has firepower but no leash. Meanwhile, the cops and the feds are one headline away from storming everyone's operations, meaning Tulsa could go from organized crime to chaotic martial law overnight. The trailer clearly hints this isn't just a turf dispute anymore, it's a full-scale civic power struggle, and even the good guys aren't playing clean. And here's the twisted reality. Even if Dwight survives, even if he wins, victory might cost him everything he actually cares about. Because winning Tulsa isn't just about territory, it's about narrative control, the press, the money flow, the law, and the fear factor. Season 3 is setting up a finale where the crown comes with a curse. Whoever controls Tulsa by the end, they won't be celebrating. They'll be bleeding, burying bodies, and looking over their shoulder for Season 4. Internal Betrayal Watch: who will flip before Episode 8? When a war this messy erupts, the bullets aren't the deadliest thing in the story, it's the whispers. Somebody inside Dwight's shrinking inner circle is going to crack, and Tulsa King Season 3 is telegraphing it with neon signs. The pressure is up, bodies are dropping, the feds are circling, and Dunmire is tightening the noose. When factions collide, loyalty becomes a luxury, not a virtue, and someone is going to decide survival matters more than the code. Every crime show has that moment where the rat emerges, and we're staring right at that crossroads. The question isn't if someone flips, it's who breaks first. Tyson is vulnerable, Bodie is exposed, Mitch is cornered, and Cleo is unpredictable. Each one has a motive, each one has a weakness, and each one has something to lose right now. Dunmire and the feds don't need to win the war with firepower. All they need is one good signature on a plea deal, and Dwight's empire collapses from the inside. Sheridan loves betrayal arcs, and Season 3 is clearly building toward a gut punch moment where someone Dwight trusted hands him to the wolves. The real tragedy. Dwight isn't fighting just Tulsa's enemies, he's fighting morale, paranoia, and desperation within his own house. Once a crew starts questioning orders, once loyalties wobble, once fear outweighs family, it's over. Episode 8 feels like the moment where the mask gets ripped off, the traitor stands revealed, and Dwight realizes the hardest part of being king isn't killing enemies, it's surviving friends. If Sheridan is aiming for maximum emotional damage, the rat won't be a side character. It'll be someone Dwight would take a bullet for. The emotional fallout, Dwight's family back in the crosshairs. For Dwight, the battlefield has never been the real nightmare. It's the dinner table, the phone call at 2 a.m., the daughter crying because his war has found her again. Season 3 is ripping open the wound Dwight has never been able to cauterize. His family pays the bill for every move he makes. Once Cole's death, the bourbon fallout, and Dunmire's escalation collide, the message becomes painfully clear. The fight is no longer professional. It's personal. Dwight can take a beating, he can bury enemies, he can even stomach betrayal, but when Tina, Carson, and the people who share his blood get dragged back into the line of fire, that's the one pressure point that can break him. And the worst part? Dwight caused it, and he knows it. Tina didn't ask to inherit mob grudges. Carson didn't choose the sins of his grandfather, yet here they are. Season 3, targets, leverage, pieces on someone else's chessboard. That guilt is the fuse that could push Dwight into his most reckless state yet. When a man who already has nothing to lose suddenly realizes he can still lose the only thing that matters, logic disappears, diplomacy dies, violence becomes religion. Dunmire, the feds, Muso, they don't have to outgun Dwight. They just have to scare his family, and he'll burn Tulsa to the ground with his bare hands. So now the emotional stakes are louder than the gunfire, because if Dwight can't keep his family safe, then what's the throne even for? Episode 6 and beyond are setting up a hard truth. To protect the Dutton, wrong universe, to protect the Manfredi name, Dwight may have to become the monster he swears he's done being. The tragedy writes itself. The more he fights for family, the more the war consumes them. And by the finale, someone in his bloodline is going to be scarred forever, whether they survive or not. How Episode 6 sets up a Season 3 finale that cannot end peacefully. Episode 6 is the point in every Taylor Sheridan story where the brakes come off, the fuse hits the powder, and you suddenly realize, oh, this can only end in blood. Tulsa is no longer a turf dispute, no longer a chess match, no longer old-school mob business. After Cole's death, the bourbon fiasco, Tyson's disappearance, Dunmire's retaliation, and Muso tightening the screws, Episode 6 turns the war into something that cannot be bargained, bought, or threatened back into submission. Every faction now has skin in the game, and nobody can walk away without losing something permanent. Sheridan isn't building toward a detente, he's building toward a body bag. Episode 6 essentially corners Dwight from every angle. Dunmire wants dominance, Muso wants leverage, the feds want a trophy, and his own crew is cracking under pressure. That combination is the narrative death sentence of any chance at a calm resolution. Once a leader can't trust his inner circle, can't outmaneuver his rival, and can't guarantee his family is safe, there is only one direction left: total escalation. Dwight isn't planning strategy anymore. He's surviving, reacting, and emotionally spiraling. That is finale territory, and it always ends the same way in Sheridan's world. The man with the most to lose becomes the most dangerous one on the board. So by the time Episode 6 fades out, peace is not just impossible, it's a joke. Tulsa has too much blood invested, too many grudges stacked, and too many egos armed to the teeth. Someone has to fall, someone has to pay, and someone major is not making it out of Season 3. A finale like that isn't written for closure, it's written for shockwaves. And after the setup Episode 6 delivers, the only real question left is, who survives the fire Dwight is about to unleash, and who gets burned to ash in it? So here we are, the board is set, the knives are out, and Tulsa is seconds away from turning into a full-blown war zone. Dwight's running out of allies, running out of moves, and running out of time. And after Episode 6, let's be honest, this doesn't feel like a story that ends with a handshake, a peace treaty, or Dwight sipping bourbon in celebration. No, this feels like a finale written in smoke, betrayal, and a major death that detonates everything. Whether it's a Dunmire, a crew member, or someone Dwight loves, the show is telegraphing one message loud and clear. The only way out is through the fire. And I'll be right here with you when it hits, because if Episode 6 was the earthquake, the finale will be the collapse. So drop your predictions below: who dies, who flips, and who walks away king. Because one thing's for sure, Tulsa won't look the same when this season is over.
But the killing spree continues. Bikers, Chicky, we know everything. Everything you've been up to since you got it.
If you thought the chaos in Tulsa King had peaked, think again, because Season 3, Episode 6 looks like the moment everything detonates. The line between ally and enemy has officially evaporated, and Dwight's empire is cracking faster than his patience. Dunmire's tightening the noose, Muso's playing chess with blackmail, and every friend Dwight ever made suddenly smells opportunity in the smoke. This isn't business anymore, it's personal, paranoid, and ugly. The kind of power struggle where the bullets might be the least dangerous thing flying around. Because when the walls start closing in and the loyalty starts rotting, every empire becomes the same, desperate, brutal, and drenched in betrayal.
But there is only one son that I worship. And he was sacrificed in the name of the greater good too.
Dunmire's retaliation strategy, full-blown war or psychological siege. If Jeremiah Dunmire was the snake in the grass before, episode 6 is where he starts coiling. His retaliation strategy isn't just about sending muscle, it's about sending a message. The kind that doesn't come with gunfire first, but pressure, paranoia, and silence. That's how old money plays the game. Dunmire isn't interested in blood for blood, he's interested in control. He knows Dwight's biggest weakness isn't his age or his enemies, it's his ego, and that's what he's about to weaponize. Expect episode 6 to shift from chaos to calculation, with every move Dwight makes already countered 3 steps ahead by a man who doesn't need to swing to win.
You have a problem with anyone out there? I'm just a phone call away.
Sheridan's been setting this up like a chess match between 2 predators who don't even play the same sport. Dwight's still brawling in back rooms, breaking faces to solve problems. Dunmire's dropping contracts, bribes, and blackmail like landmines. We're watching a gangster from the street collide with a gangster from the boardroom, one fueled by instinct, the other by infrastructure. And honestly, Dunmire might already be winning. His war isn't fought with guns, it's fought with subpoenas, whispers, and high-end whiskey. By the time Dwight realizes he's in a psychological siege instead of a street war, it might already be too late. The brilliance and horror of Dunmire's play is how impersonal it is. He doesn't have to touch Dwight to destroy him, he just has to make the world around him crumble. His allies question him. His business partners pull out. The city starts treating him like the ticking time bomb he's become. It's the slow bleed, the kind that doesn't end with a firefight, but with a man forced to admit that power built on fear can't stand against power built on systems. If this episode delivers what the trailer teases, Dunmire isn't retaliating, he's already reclaiming Tulsa, piece by piece. Tyson's return, or breaking point, pawn, rebel, or fallen soldier. If Tyson does crawl back into the picture in episode 6, it won't be as the same kid who drove Dwight around and soaked up gangster wisdom like a wide-eyed apprentice. That version of Tyson is dead, chewed up by the weight of loyalty, guilt, and the ugly reality of what family means in Dwight's world. What we might be seeing now is the aftermath of a young man who's realized he's been a pawn in a game that was never his to win. Whether he's missing, captured, or playing ghost, one thing's clear: Tyson's silence is louder than any gunshot this season. This could be the breaking point episode for him. The emotional shrapnel from Cole's death, the bourbon fiasco, and Dwight's unraveling empire has left him stranded between 2 lives: the street loyalty Dwight taught him and the self-preservation instinct that's finally kicking in. Sheridan loves his redemption arcs wrapped in tragedy, and Tyson fits that bill perfectly. If he returns, don't expect a tearful reunion. Expect resentment, trauma, and a man who's seen too much for his own age. He might not come back to help Dwight at all. He might come back to end it. Tyson's role now feels less like right-hand man and more like a walking consequence. His choices are proof that Dwight's mentorship is as poisonous as it is protective. Every favor Dwight ever called in, every promise of loyalty, now feels like a curse that Tyson's desperate to shake. So if episode 6 dares to pull the trigger on his storyline, it won't be about whether he survives. It'll be about whether his return ignites the final spark that sends Dwight's whole empire into flames.
Tyson is not thinking right at that moment, so you leave him alone in that dive? Family doesn't do that.
Cleo and Bodhi's loyalty tested further. Who folds first? If Tulsa King has taught us anything, it's that loyalty is just another form of currency, and in Dwight's crumbling empire, the exchange rate's collapsing fast. Cleo and Bodhi, once Dwight's ride-or-die operators, are now staring down the kind of moral debt no amount of cash or charisma can cover. Episode 6 looks like it's teeing up the moment where one of them finally cracks, not out of malice, but survival instinct. Dwight's empire is bleeding and the vultures are circling. You can't blame them for wondering if it's smarter to save themselves than to sink with the ship. Cleo's loyalty has always come with conditions. She's loyal until the room starts to smell like danger, and right now the whole place reeks. She's savvy, sharp, and knows the streets run on leverage, not love. Then there's Bodie, the digital age hustler who thought he could outsmart the mob by coding his way around it. The irony? He's trapped deeper than anyone. Every move he makes now risks exposure, and every secret he's holding could get him killed. Sheridan's setting them up like two dominoes wobbling in opposite directions. The question is, who tips first and who pushes? What makes this so juicy isn't just the betrayal, it's the why. Cleo might fold because she's tired of playing cleanup for Dwight's old-school blunders. Bodie might fold because the feds, Dunmire, or Muso finally press the right digital button. Either way, when one of them caves, it'll send shockwaves through what's left of Dwight's family. And here's the kicker, Sheridan doesn't do clean betrayals. When loyalty dies in Tulsa King, it dies ugly, and it usually takes someone with it. Episode 6 might just be the moment Dwight learns that fear keeps people close until it doesn't.
Did we or did we not shake on a deal?
It was a bad deal, Jeremiah. For me and for my family.
The Bourbon deal's new fallout. Clients, contracts, and corpses. The Bourbon deal was supposed to be Dwight's classy way of laundering legitimacy into his empire, a toast to power dressed up in mahogany and glass. But as always in Tulsa King, every good business venture ends up drenched in blood and betrayal. Episode 6 is shaping up to show the hangover that comes after the high. And this time, the bourbon's gone sour. The investors are nervous, the contracts are shady, and the bodies? Well, they're starting to pile up like unpaid debts. What started as a slick business pivot is turning into a financial crime scene, and everyone with a stake in it is suddenly realizing that partnering with Dwight Manfredi means signing more than just a dotted line. It means signing your own risk assessment in blood. The most fascinating part here is how quickly the legitimate world starts to rot once it gets a whiff of Dwight's way of doing things. The clients who once saw a gold rush now see a red flag. Contracts meant to stabilize the operation are being weaponized as leverage. And somewhere behind the curtain, someone's moving chess pieces. Maybe Muso, maybe Dunmire, maybe even someone within Dwight's family. It's not just business turning ugly, it's business becoming personal. Because once corpses start turning up tied to corporate handshakes, nobody can tell where the business ends and the war begins. The Bourbon deal was Dwight's promise to himself that he could go straight without losing control. But episode 6 feels like the moment that illusion finally shatters. The fallout isn't just financial, it's symbolic. Every bottle, every deal, every legit move Dwight tried to make becomes another reminder that no matter how much polish he puts on it, he's still running a criminal empire. The bourbon was meant to represent sophistication and rebirth, but now it's the drink at his own funeral. The real question isn't how many bodies it costs, it's how much of Dwight's soul goes with it. Muso's leverage play. Blackmail and legal traps unleashed. Muso's finally done playing the polite game. Episode 6 looks like the moment she drops the pretense and shows everyone what real power looks like when it's wrapped in legal documents instead of bullets. While Dwight and his crew are still trying to navigate the chaos on the streets, Muso's making her moves in the shadows, pulling strings with lawyers, city officials, and backdoor deals. This isn't about brute force anymore. It's about precision. She's cornering Dwight not with guns, but with subpoenas, audits, and whispers in the right ears. The kind of warfare that doesn't spill blood, it spills secrets. And here's where it gets deliciously dangerous. Muso knows exactly how to weaponize Dwight's weaknesses. His family, his past, his so-called legitimate businesses. Everything he's tried to keep clean, she's about to drag through the mud and hang out for the vultures to see. This isn't just revenge, it's strategy. She's setting traps he can't shoot his way out of, the kind that bleed him publicly, force him to play defense, and pit his own people against him. When Muso starts dealing in blackmail and legality, it's like watching someone swap a knife for a scalpel. Less mess, more precision, and far more painful. If this is where the episode's heading, we might be watching Dwight's biggest vulnerability finally get exploited, not his enemy's muscle, but their patience. Muso's playing the long game, waiting for him to crack under pressure, for his empire to implode from within. She's not just out for control anymore, she's out to erase his credibility, his alliances, and maybe even his name. Dwight survived shootouts and betrayals, but can he survive being strangled by the system itself? Because if Muso gets her way, the next hitman coming for Dwight might not carry a gun, just a briefcase. Family warfare. Tina becomes a target or a weapon. If there's one rule in Dwight's world, it's that family is both shield and shrapnel. And in episode 6, it looks like Tina's about to find herself right in the middle of that crossfire, not as collateral damage, but as the weapon everyone wants to use. The streets may be bloody, but the real war is moving into the living rooms, courtrooms, and front yards. Dwight's enemies have figured out something brutal. You don't take down the king by shooting at him, you go after the queen. And that's exactly what's happening here. Tina's life, her business, and even her name are turning into leverage pieces in a game she never wanted to play. But here's the irony. Tina might not be as defenseless as everyone assumes. After everything she's endured, her father's criminal shadow, the chaos he brings into her life, and the emotional toll that comes with being a McCluskey-level moral anchor, she's hardened up. This could be the moment where she flips the narrative, uses her father's playbook, and fights fire with fury. Maybe she's not the pawn anymore. Maybe she's the queen finally realizing her power on the board. Whether that means cutting deals behind Dwight's back or luring Muso into a trap of her own, this storyline feels like it's gearing up to turn Tina from a daughter into a force. And if this episode delivers on that promise, we're about to see the most personal kind of war. The kind where Dwight's biggest strength becomes his ultimate liability. Because family isn't just his reason to fight, it's the rope his enemies will use to pull him under. The question isn't whether Tina survives this, it's whether she chooses his side when the smoke clears. And if she doesn't, Dwight might finally learn the one thing he's refused to believe: sometimes blood isn't thicker than ambition. New rivals step out. Secondary players rise in the vacuum. When the big dogs start tearing each other apart, it's always the quiet ones in the corner who make their move, and Tulsa King Season 3. Episode 6 looks like the exact moment those secondary players start sniffing power. With Dwight stretched thin between Dunmire's counterattacks, Muso's shadow games, and the emotional warfare brewing at home, the cracks are showing, and in that vacuum, the Opportunists step out of the dark. The side hustlers, the lieutenants, the overlooked, all ready to flip allegiances if it means climbing one rung higher. It's the jungle law of Tulsa. When the lion's distracted, the scavengers circle. And honestly, this might be where the show gets nasty. We're talking about low-level gang enforcers suddenly running corners, dirty cops realizing they can profit off the chaos, and even Dwight's supposed allies, the Cleos, the Bodies, the club owners, quietly picking sides that benefit them, not the family. Every empire eventually rots from the inside, and this feels like that turning point. The people who once feared Dwight's wrath might start asking the one question that kills all loyalty: what's he really gonna do about it? But here's the dark twist. These secondary players could become the real threat, the kind that doesn't need a crown to burn down the kingdom. When Dwight finally looks up from the battlefield, he might realize the war he's fighting isn't even the one that matters anymore. The old order's collapsing, and the replacements aren't businessmen or mobsters, they're survivors. Cold, ambitious, and tired of waiting their turn. The real question for episode 6, can Dwight stamp out a dozen smaller fires, or will one of them finally light the match that ends it all?